Welcome, everyone, to Just Speak English podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's at the core of any big achievement, the small, almost invisible things we do every single day. We're talking about habits.
It's the stuff that happens on autopilot, right?
Exactly. And to help us unpack this, I'm so happy to have my friend Alex with us today. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, Corey. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. You have such a powerful story about how you used daily habits to completely transform your English skills. Before we get into the how, what does that word, emphasis strong, habit, really mean to you?
To me, a habit is a choice that you've made so many times that it stops feeling like a choice. It just becomes what you do, like brushing your teeth. You don't debate it, you just do it.
I love that definition. It's not about willpower anymore, it's about wiring. And if you're listening and you enjoy conversations that help you build better wiring for your life, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button so you never miss an episode. So, Alex, let's go back in time. Before these habits, what did your English learning journey look like?
Oh man, it was a mess. A frustrating mess.
A frustrating mess. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. What did that look like day to day?
It looked like me buying textbooks that I'd open once. It looked like downloading 5 different language apps and getting overwhelmed by notifications. It was all starts and stops.
So, a lot of initial enthusiasm, but no follow-through?
Exactly. I had this huge, vague goal, become fluent in English. But it was so big, I had no idea where to even start. It was like wanting to climb Mount Everest, but having no map, no gear, not even a pair of boots.
That's a perfect analogy. The goal is so intimidating that you end up doing nothing at all. Paralysis by analysis.
Total paralysis. I felt stuck. I'd see other people making progress and just feel worse about myself, which of course made me want to try even less. It was a vicious cycle.
I can only imagine how discouraging that feels. It's like you're running in place and getting tired, but not going anywhere. What was the turning point? What was the aha moment for you?
The turning point was actually reading a book, not about language, but about atomic habits. The core idea was that massive change doesn't come from one massive action. It comes from tiny 1% improvements every single day.
The power of compounding.
Yes, that was it. It clicked for me. I realized my goal wasn't become fluent. My goal was get 1% better than I was yesterday. Suddenly, that felt possible. It felt manageable.
So you broke the mountain down into single steps. You stopped looking at the peak and just focused on the path right in front of you.
I had to. My new goal wasn't to study for 3 hours. It was to study for 5 minutes. Anyone can do 5 minutes, right?
Right. It's almost impossible to say no to just 5 minutes. That's brilliant. It reminds me of when I decided I wanted to be healthier. The idea of going to the gym for an hour every day was just never going to happen.
I know that feeling.
But then I told myself, just put on your workout clothes. That was the only habit. And of course, once the clothes were on, I'd think, well, I might as well do a 10-minute walk. And that 10-minute walk often turned into 20 or 30.
You tricked your own brain.
I did, by making the initial step ridiculously easy. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did with English. The power isn't in the 5 minutes of studying itself.
No, the power is in the act of starting. The power is in building the identity of someone who studies every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. That was the real shift. I stopped seeing myself as someone who is bad at English and started seeing myself as someone who works on their English every day.
That's a profound mental shift. It's no longer about the outcome, it's about the process. It's about who you are becoming.
And that's what makes it stick. When your habits align with your identity, you don't need motivation to do them. You do them because that's who you are.
So the real secret isn't just about learning English words or grammar rules. It's about building the identity of a learner first.
100%. The English skills were almost a side effect of building that new identity. It was a byproduct of consistency.
This is so important. So many people focus on the destination, But the real transformation happens on the journey, in those small daily steps. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency.
Consistency is everything. Showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, sends a powerful message to your brain. It says, this is important. This is part of us now.
That's amazing. So now we understand the why behind it all. But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing. You mentioned having bad habits before. Let's talk about those.
Oh, for sure. Before I could build the good ones, I had to recognize the bad ones that were holding me back. And some of them were sneaky.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. We've established why habits are so powerful. But as you said, Alex, not all habits are created equal. How did you start to distinguish between a good habit and a bad one, especially when it came to learning?
Well, some are obvious, right? Mindlessly scrolling social media for an hour is a bad habit, but some were disguised as good habits.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What do you mean?
My biggest fake good habit was watching American movies with the subtitles on in my native language. I told myself I was practicing my listening.
Ah, I see. You felt productive.
Totally. I could check study English off my to-do list. But in reality, I was just reading a movie. My brain wasn't working. It was completely passive. A good habit, I learned, requires active engagement.
That's a fantastic distinction. Passive versus active. So, how do you identify these habits in the wild? I've heard about something called the habit loop. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, it's super simple. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It has 3 parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward.
Cue, routine, reward. Got it.
So the cue is the trigger. It's what kicks off the habit. For my movie-watching habit, the cue was feeling tired after a long day at work. My brain would say, time to relax.
Okay, so the cue is, I'm tired. What was the routine?
The routine was the action itself. Turn on the TV, open Netflix, pick a movie, and make sure those comfy subtitles were on.
And the reward?
The reward was twofold. First, the immediate pleasure of watching a movie. But the second, sneakier reward was the feeling of being productive without actually doing any effort. I got to feel good about myself without doing the hard work.
Wow. When you lay it out like that, it's so clear why it's such a hard habit to break. The reward is powerful.
It really is. And you can apply this to anything. What's a funny bad habit you've ever had to kick, Corey?
That's easy. The 9 p.m. kitchen raid.
Huh? I think I know this one.
The cue was the end of my favorite TV show. As soon as the credits rolled, it was like a bell went off in my head.
And the routine?
A stealth mission to the kitchen, open the pantry, then the fridge, then the pantry again, looking for that perfect salty or sweet snack. The routine wasn't even eating, it was the foraging.
I know the forage. And the reward was that hit of sugar or salt, right?
Exactly. A moment of satisfaction, followed by an hour of, why did I do that? So the key is to first become aware of that loop, to actually say, okay, the TV credits are my cue, the foraging is my routine, the snack is my reward.
Awareness is the first step, always. You can't change a habit you don't know you have. I started a habit journal for a week. I just wrote down the patterns I noticed without judgment.
Without judgment. That's important. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about being a detective in your own life.
Exactly. I noticed that my phone was a huge cue. The moment I felt bored, that's the cue, my hand would automatically reach for my phone, that's the routine, for the reward of a quick dopamine hit from social media.
Boredom is a massive cue for so many of our worst habits.
It's a huge one. And recognizing that allowed me to think, okay, next time I feel bored, what can I do instead? That's where the magic starts to happen. You don't have to eliminate the cue. You just have to change the routine that follows.
So you keep the cue, you keep the reward, but you swap out the routine for something better.
Precisely. You find a better way to get that same reward. If the reward I was seeking was a break from hard mental work, I could replace the passive movie watching with something else that felt like a break, but was more beneficial, like listening to an English language podcast on a topic I genuinely enjoyed.
Like this one, perhaps.
Exactly like this one. It was still enjoyable, still a break, but it was active listening. It was a better routine.
This is so practical. It's not about using brute force or willpower to stop something. It's about being smart and redesigning your response to your natural triggers.
It's about working with your brain, not against it.
All right, this is the perfect setup. We know why habits matter, and we know how to spot the good, the bad, and the ugly using the habit loop. Now, let's get to the main event. What were the specific daily habits you used to build your new English-speaking self? Okay, Alex, we are ready for the blueprint. We've talked about the theory, the psychology, the why. Now let's get into the what. What were the actual daily habits you started implementing? Let's hear habit number 1.
Habit number 1 was the foundation for everything else. I called it the 2-minute rule, but you could do 5. The rule is any new habit must take less than 2 minutes to do.
Less than 2 minutes. So again, you're just lowering that barrier to entry so it's impossible to fail.
Exactly. My goal wasn't read a chapter in an English book. My goal was read 1 page. My goal wasn't master 30 vocabulary words. It was open my flashcard app.
So the habit is just the act of starting.
Yes, because a body in motion stays in motion. Once I'd read 1 page, I'd often think, well, that was easy, I'll read another. But even if I didn't, I'd still accomplished my goal for the day. I was still a person who read English every day.
That's so powerful. Okay, what's habit number 2?
Habit number 2 was habit stacking. This is a game changer. The idea is to link your new desired habit to a habit you already do every single day without fail.
You're piggybacking on an existing routine. Give me an example.
My super established habit was making coffee every morning. It's the first thing I do. So the new rule was, after I press the start button on my coffee machine, I will review 5 vocabulary flashcards.
Oh, that's brilliant. The cue for your English habit isn't just a random time of day, it's another habit that's already locked in.
Right. The completion of one habit becomes the trigger for the next. After I brush my teeth, I will say 1 sentence in English out loud about my plans for the day. After I put on my shoes to leave the house, I will listen to a 1-minute English news brief.
It removes the need to remember. The system runs itself.
It puts your learning on autopilot. Okay, habit number 3 was think in English.
That sounds hard. How do you even start doing that?
I started incredibly small. I didn't try to have complex philosophical debates in my head. I would just narrate my own life with simple sentences. As I was making my coffee, I'd think, I am pouring water. The coffee is hot. I am adding milk.
You become your own narrator.
Exactly. It's a way to practice constantly without needing a partner or a classroom. You're turning your inner monologue into a practice session. That is a blue car. A dog is walking. I am hungry. It seems silly, but it builds the neural pathways to formulate thoughts directly in English instead of translating.
Instead of going from your native language to English and back again, you're cutting out the middleman.
You got it. Okay, habit 4 is active listening, not passive hearing. We touched on this. This meant no more having a podcast on in the background while I did 5 other things.
So what did you do instead?
I would take a very short audio clip, maybe 30 seconds to a minute long, and listen to it with the sole purpose of understanding every single word. Sometimes I'd write down what I heard, a practice called transcription.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
It is, but it trains your ear like nothing else. Another way is a technique called shadowing.
Explain that.
You listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they say in real time, just a split second behind them. You try to copy their rhythm, their pronunciation, their intonation, the music of the language.
So you're not just learning words, you're learning how the language sounds and feels. You're building muscle memory for your mouth.
Exactly. You feel so silly at first, but it is incredibly effective. Habit 5 is crucial. Curate your content.
Meaning?
It means I changed my digital environment. My phone used to be a distraction. I decided to turn it into a learning tool. I unfollowed celebrity gossip accounts and followed English teachers, science communicators, and motivational speakers who posted in English.
So when you inevitably fell into the routine of scrolling, the reward was different.
The reward was now learning something interesting. I changed the input. I changed my YouTube subscriptions, my Instagram feed, my Twitter. I immersed myself in the language without having to move to another country.
You know, an unexpected but effective tip someone once gave me was to announce your habit.
Oh, like public accountability.
Exactly. Just telling one friend, hey, I'm going to do this 5-minute English exercise every day. The simple act of saying it out loud creates a social contract. You're more likely to do it because you don't want to let them or yourself down.
That's so true. I did that with a friend online. We weren't even studying together, but we were accountability buddies. We just messaged each other a checkmark emoji every day we completed our habit.
See? Simple, but effective. Okay, so we have a great foundation for building good habits. But what about the other side of the coin? How do you actively dismantle the bad ones that are so deeply ingrained? All right, Alex. Building good habits is one half of the equation. The other half, which is sometimes the harder half, is breaking the bad ones. You told a story earlier about failing to quit a habit. Let's start there.
Right, so my biggest bad habit was mindless consumption. Just scrolling. It felt good in the moment, but afterwards, I'd feel like I wasted so much time. I tried to just stop doing it.
How'd that work out?
Terribly. I'd delete the apps from my phone full of resolve, and 2 days later, I'd be in the App Store re-downloading them. Willpower alone was not enough.
Because you were creating a vacuum. You took away the routine, but the cue, boredom, or needing a mental break, was still there.
Exactly. The breakthrough came when I realized I didn't have to eliminate the habit, I had to replace it. This leads to habit number 6, replace, don't erase.
So when you felt that urge, that cue to mindlessly scroll, what was the new routine?
The new routine was to open a specific, high-quality learning app instead. For me, it was a vocabulary builder or a news app for learners. The cue was the same. I'm bored, I want to look at my phone. But the routine was now productive. I was redirecting the urge instead of fighting it.
You didn't fight the river, you just dug a new channel for it to flow through. That's so smart.
It's the only thing that worked. Okay, habit number 7 was designed to break my habit of fear of speaking. I was terrified of making mistakes.
The perfectionism trap.
Big time. I wouldn't speak because I was waiting until I was good enough. The replacement habit was talk to yourself.
We talked about thinking in English, but this is speaking out loud?
Yes, out loud. In the car, in the shower, while cooking, I would just narrate what I was doing. Okay, now I am chopping the onions. I need to find the olive oil. It felt ridiculous, but it got me over the physical hurdle of forming English words with my mouth without the pressure of being judged.
It's a dress rehearsal with no audience.
The safest audience in the world. This directly combats the bad habit of silence and fear. Habit number 8 tackled my bad habit of constantly translating in my head. The replacement was the one-sentence journal.
Tell me more.
Every night before bed, my only task was to write one single sentence in English about my day. Just one. Today, I had a good meeting at work. Or the weather was very rainy today.
So simple, but what does it do?
It forces you to construct a complete thought from start to finish in English. You can't cheat by just translating word for word. You have to think about the structure. And like all these habits, it was so small, it was impossible to skip. That one sentence often turned into 2, then a whole paragraph.
It's the tiny seed that grows into a tree. I love it. What's habit 9?
Habit 9 replaced my passive movie watching habit. I called it the one new thing rule. When I did watch a movie or a TV show in English, my only goal was to find one new thing, one new vocabulary word, one interesting slang phrase, one new idiom.
So you turned it into a treasure hunt.
Exactly. It gamified the experience. Instead of feeling overwhelmed trying to understand everything, I just had one tiny, manageable mission. It made watching TV active and fun again without the pressure.
Instead of trying to drink from a fire hose, you're just taking one sip. That's so much more sustainable.
Way more. And finally, habit number 10, this was to break the bad habit of studying in isolation, feeling like you're on this journey all alone.
That can be so demotivating.
It really can. So the 10th habit was make one connection. This didn't mean I had to find a new best friend every day. It just meant I had to engage with the English-speaking world in one small way. I could leave a comment on a YouTube video in English. I could answer a question on a language forum. I could send a message to my accountability buddy.
So you're creating micro interactions that remind you you're part of a larger community.
It makes it real. It breaks the isolation. But the most important part of breaking bad habits, Corey, is forgiveness.
Tell me about that.
You will mess up. You will have a day where you're too tired and you scroll Instagram for an hour. You will forget to do your one-sentence journal. It's going to happen. The old me would see that as a total failure and give up completely.
All or nothing thinking.
Yes. The new rule is never miss twice. If I mess up today, that's okay. I am human. But my only job is to get back on track tomorrow. One bad day doesn't erase hundreds of good ones. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is just to keep going.
Never miss twice. I think that might be the most powerful piece of advice we've heard today, Alex. It's not about being perfect. It's about being resilient. It's about getting back up.
That's all it is. The journey is not a straight line, it's messy, but as long as you're generally moving forward, you're winning.
This has been incredibly insightful. Let's do a quick recap of these amazing habits. We started with the 2-minute rule to make starting easy and habit stacking to link it to your current life. We moved to thinking in English to immerse your mind and active listening and shadowing to train your ear.
Then we focused on curating your content to change your environment and replacing bad habits instead of just erasing them.
And then the practical daily actions, talking to yourself to build confidence, the one-sentence journal to practice construction, the one new thing rule to make consumption active, and making one connection to break the isolation.
Whew, it sounds like a lot when you list them all out.
It does, but the key, as you said, is to just start with one, not all 10 at once.
Absolutely. Just pick the one that sounds easiest or most fun to you and do that for a week. That's it.
Alex, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing your journey with such honesty and with such practical, actionable steps. It's been a real pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine, Corey. Thanks for the great conversation.
And for everyone listening to Just Speak English podcast, thank you for tuning in. I hope this conversation has sparked an idea for you. Our question for you this week is this. What is the one small habit you are going to try to implement this week? It could be one of Alex's or one of your own. Let us know in the comments section wherever you're listening, or find us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and just start small.